Shall we begin, guys? Yes. Okay, woman self-help group discussion is happening there. Okay, so anyway. Okay, so importance of wetlands from climate change perspective. So did you understand this yesterday? We have gone through these points, right? No? Yes? You don't know? Yes. So did you understand these points? Basically, if wetland is there, you'll have water. Water is there, evaporation will happen. Apart from that, wetlands contain vegetation. So transpiration will happen. More and more water vapor will be released. Okay, cloud formation, cooling effect. Okay, and water cycles will happen properly. All these are the advantages of wetlands from climate change perspective. So cooling down the planet. Okay. Okay. So now look at this point, very important. Now all these are the disastrous consequences of climate change. Heat waves, cold waves, droughts. Okay. And then drought will be broken by sudden and heavy downpour, rainfall, which causes flash flooding. So you can fight against all these disastrous consequences of climate change with the help of wetlands. Okay, for example, there is something called storm surge. Where is that? Yeah, storm surge. So do you know the meaning of storm surge? Is it covered in Geo? No? Okay, so cyclones. During cyclones, the winds are very strong, right? So the cyclone, it travels through the sea and then makes landfall. It enters the land. So when this happens, the winds in the cyclone will push a lot of water onto the coast. Okay. So you can see waves, huge waves, 7 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet tall waves coming towards the land, with lot of velocity. So actually, during cyclones, many people die, right? So most of us think that the deaths will happen due to winds or flying debris, okay, or due to rainfall, but no, majority, more than 90% of the deaths that occur during cyclones is due to storm surge. I hope you're understanding. So storm surges are very deadly actually. Within a very short span of time, the entire coastal area will be flooded. Okay, just imagine a series of waves, huge waves, very tall waves coming at you, coming towards the coast with a lot of velocity. They destroy everything in their path basically, and within a short span of time, the entire coastal area will be flooded. So do you know that mangroves, okay, mangroves are wetlands, and mangroves can protect the coast against storm surges. I'll show you the video. Okay, and apart from that, waves are very powerful erosional forces. Mangroves can also reduce the erosional effect of waves. Okay, and apart from that, there is a rise in sea level. We all know this, right? Okay, so just think about the very tiny island nations of the Pacific Ocean. Fiji is there, okay, Nauru, Kiribati, all these are very, very small. Okay, their area is, maybe equal to or less than Hyderabad. Okay, most of the islands, very small island nations. And their elevation is, equal to the sea level. So even if the sea levels rise by few feet, not few feet, few inches, most of those islands will be flooded. Okay, they'll be submerged basically. So that is the reason people are migrating from these island nations to New Zealand and Australia. So new variety of refugees called climate refugees started coming up, and they're migrating towards all these countries because they're losing their land. Okay, now do you know that mangrove plantation can protect the coast against rise in sea level? That is called stabilizing shorelines. Okay, so even that is one of the benefit of mangroves. So that is the reason in all these island countries, intensive mangrove plantation program is happening. Okay, so anyway, did you understand this point? So what do wetlands do basically? They increase climate resilience. What do you mean by climate resilience? What do you mean by climate resilience? Very simple. We can fight against climate change. We can improve our survival against the harmful impacts of climate change. I hope you're understanding. Okay, first of all, are you convinced that climate change is very dangerous and it is going to affect everybody? Is everybody convinced, or does anybody still have any doubt in their mind that climate change is not real, it's not happening, like Donald Trump, or he doesn't believe in climate change, right? Okay, so anybody still has any doubt? Because I'll show you the proof also. Okay, do you know that there is something called core drilling? Okay, it happens in the Arctic and Antarctic regions, in the polar regions. So they drill into the ice and they take out that drilled ice column. Okay, and this ice column contains record of climatic changes. I hope you're understanding. So if you want, tomorrow I can show you that evidence. I have some good PPTs on that also. Okay, so just keep one thing in mind. The current average CO2 concentration 410 ppm parts per million in the atmosphere. Average concentration of CO2 in the Earth's atmosphere 410 ppm. Earth's atmosphere has seen such a high concentration of CO2 around 8 million years back. And again, now we are seeing such huge amount of carbon. Okay, now you can ask me a question like, why are we so concerned about climate change? Because I told you that climate is very dynamic. Climate will keep on changing. Yes or no? In the past also climate has changed. Earth has seen many ice ages. Okay, and I told you that once in every 20 or 25,000 years, Sahara Desert turns into a forest, turns into a grassland. Okay, so there is a huge change in climate. So climate itself is highly dynamic, keeps on changing. Okay, then why should we worry about climate change now? Very simple. Naturally occurring climate change will take some time. It won't happen immediately. Okay, naturally occurring climate change will take several hundreds of years or thousands of years to happen. Okay, but what we are experiencing right now is human induced climate change. Okay, now you can ask me one more question. I know you won't ask me, so I'm asking it myself. Organisms have the capability to adapt. Yes, so why should we worry about climate change? Yes, organisms will adapt, but do they adapt overnight, immediately? No, they will take a lot of time, right? Okay, so we are not giving time for the organisms to adapt. I hope you're understanding. Earth's average temperature has risen by 1 degree Celsius since Industrial Revolution. God forbid, if it reaches 3 degrees Celsius. Okay, I'm just talking about the average. At some places, it is much more higher than the average. For example, the Arctic region and Himalayas. Okay, they are warming up very rapidly. Okay, so I'm just talking about the average. Okay, so if the Earth's average temperature increases by just 3 degrees Celsius, more than 30% of all the species on planet Earth will go extinct. Around half of the Earth's ecosystems, more than half, will collapse immediately. They'll stop functioning. I hope you're understanding. So we are dealing with something which is very deadly. And climate change is the best weapon we have. Okay, one of the best weapons. Okay, next. Wetlands and carbon storage. So here we'll discuss about peatlands. Yeah, who's asking? Yeah. Yeah, even that is due to climate change. Okay, I'll explain. So right now, North America is dealing with bomb cyclone. Okay, do you know that? Bomb cyclone. Okay, now bomb cyclones will happen, but the intensity of bomb cyclone has increased a lot in the past years due to climate change. Okay, I'm talking about climate change, not global warming. Both are same, related, not same, related. What is global warming? Very simple, try to understand the difference because this will definitely come for the exam, either directly or indirectly, or you might even get an essay. Okay, so what is global warming? Due to increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, what is happening? The Earth is getting warmed up due to greenhouse effect. I hope you're understanding. What is greenhouse effect? I'll discuss with the help of PPT. That's a different chapter. Don't worry about it. So greenhouse effect, that will keep the Earth warm. What will happen without greenhouse effect? Average surface temperature of the Earth would be minus 18 degrees Celsius. What is the current average surface temperature? Plus 18 degrees Celsius. So it is the greenhouse effect which is making the Earth habitable. For example, Mars doesn't have any greenhouse effect. Okay, do you know what is the nighttime temperature of Mars? It can reach up to minus 220 or minus 250 degrees Celsius. I hope you're understanding. A lot of variation is there. But it is the greenhouse effect that keeps the Earth warm at night and habitable. So greenhouse effect is completely natural and it has been happening since millions of years. on the earth due to, water vapor. Water vapor is the largest greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. It is not carbon dioxide. I hope you are understanding. What is the largest greenhouse gas in the atmosphere in terms of volume? It is water vapor. Then why are we concerned about CO2? Because you cannot do anything about water vapor. Can you control the evaporation happening from the oceans? No. And water vapor is supposed to be naturally present. You cannot help it. But what can you control? You can control carbon emissions. Nobody's understanding? You can control carbon emissions. That is what we have been doing since Industrial Revolution. Okay, so the focus is on carbon. I hope you are understanding. Now, greenhouse effect is not the villain here. What is the villain? We are emitting more and more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, due to which Earth is getting warmed up. That is called global warming. You understood, right? Now, due to global warming, what is happening? The stable patterns of climate are changing. Okay, see how old is the human civilization? Hardly 2000 or 2500 years old, not more than that. Yes or no? So, agriculture began, and then slowly urbanization, towns, commerce, trade, all this happened. Hardly 2000 or 2500 years, not more than that. Okay. So, human civilization was built into stable climatic pattern. We depend on stable climatic pattern for our survival. I hope you are understanding. Now, due to rising temperatures, these stable climatic patterns are getting altered. That is climate change. Okay. Due to climate change, there is increase in intensity of cyclones. Okay. There is increase in frequency of cyclones. There is increase in intensity of cyclones. There is increase in intensity of drought. Okay. There is increase in intensity of rainfall. As I told you, a pattern is coming. What is that pattern? Long drought, suddenly broken by heavy, rainfall, which causes flash flooding and soil erosion. It is not good for us. Okay, and then again the drought will continue. This pattern is coming. So what is happening due to changing climatic conditions? Water cycle is getting disrupted. Okay, heat waves, cold waves. Cold wave is nothing but currently the North America is experiencing bomb cyclone. Okay, due to global warming, there is disruption in climatic patterns. And how do you see disruption in climatic patterns? Through all these effects. I hope you're understanding. Okay, so bomb cyclones are not new, but so much intensity and such a long duration is due to climate change. I hope you're understanding. Okay, so that clarity between global warming and climate change you must maintain. Very essential for clearing this exam. Okay, so right now everything is connected to climate change. Like for the the example, you know that you have to write every answer in multiple dimensions in mains. You have to write in terms of political dimension, economic dimension, social, cultural, environmental dimension. So wherever possible, you have to write climate change dimension also. You must write. Okay, let it be economy or polity, it doesn't matter, geography. You should write climate change dimension in your answer. You should show the connection, if at all there is any connection. Okay, you don't create any connection artificially. Okay, they won't give you marks. So if at all there is any connection, you should write about climate change perspective also in your answer. It has become so essential. Okay. So anything else, any more questions anybody has? Clear? Okay, I'm actually very happy that you're asking me questions. Okay. So wetlands and carbon storage. So we all know that wetlands soil contain a huge share of the Earth's total carbon. What is the first largest carbon sink? Oceans. Second, soil. Okay. So 30% of the carbon that is stored in soils is present in soils of wetlands. Okay. So just go through these points, you'll understand. Very simple. I don't have to explain anything. Pretty much, simple and clear. Just go through. I'll give you this PPT. Don't worry. Just go through and try to understand. Ask me any doubts if you have. Already we have discussed all these. What do you mean by gigatons? Gigaton means billion ton. Okay, 1,500 billion tons of organic carbon is present in the soil of wetlands. They just occupy 5 to 8% of the Earth's total land area. In spite of that, 1,500 billion tons of organic carbon is stored in the soil. Clear? Simple, right? Shall I move on? Okay, so peatlands. Now, did you understand the meaning of peat? What is peat? Peat is nothing but accumulation of partially decomposed organic matter. Okay, dead bodies of plants and animals which are accumulated. Okay, these are partially decomposed because small percentage of anaerobic decomposition is happening. And where do you find peat? Waterlogged location, hydric soil. I hope you understand. If it is not hydric soil, that organic matter will be decomposed, right? Why is it not decomposing? Why is it getting accumulated? Because it is hydric soil, waterlogged soil, deficient in oxygen. So that is the meaning of peat. Okay, peat accumulates over thousands of years, making it the richest stock of organic carbon in the biosphere. The entire biosphere, it is the peat that accumulates a lot of carbon. Okay, look at this. Okay, this point in pink will explain everything. Peatlands only cover 3% of the Earth's land area, yet they hold twice as much as carbon as all of the world's forests combined together. That is the beauty of peat. Okay, and just look at this point. I'll show you the map also, the global distribution of peatlands. What is that? Yeah, peat and bog are same. Same means similar, similar in formation. Okay. Clear with this? This slide is clear? I'll discuss. Okay, I'll do it. Tomorrow I'll get the syllabus. Okay. Do you feel that I'm discussing something which is out of syllabus? I'm just asking generally. Okay, just look at the previous year papers and then look at the relevance of what I'm teaching. Okay, and all these are not present in any standard textbook also. See, my philosophy is simple. If I teach what is there in the textbook, then what is the point in you taking coaching? Okay, so it's just, reproduction of whatever is there in the textbook. But this content is from Down to Earth magazine. Everybody should read that. Down to Earth magazine, Yojana Kurukshetra, editorials of Hindu, Indian Express, and all the dynamic content, which is not present in any standard textbook. Okay. Shall I move on? Okay, so this is how a peat land looks like. This is all peat. Okay. Waterlogged conditions, you can see the water. Okay, so global distribution of peatlands. As I told you, peatlands are mostly found in higher latitudes in the northern hemisphere. But as you can see, there are some peatlands in tropics also. Okay, but their area is less. Most of the largest peatlands in the world are found in northern hemisphere, higher latitudes, cold climatic conditions. Okay, but you also find tropical peatlands. It doesn't matter if it is temperate or tropical. How does a peatland form? First of all, peatland is a wetland. You have hydric soil, waterlogged conditions. So organic matter is not getting decomposed. In the case of temperate, cold climate is also stopping decomposition. Okay, waterlogged condition, cold climate is stopping decomposition. So just a very small percentage of anaerobic decomposition happens. That is very small. So over a period of time, thick layers of organic matter will get accumulated. That is nothing but peat. And peat is the first stage in the formation of coal. Okay, so eventually after thousands of years, peat will be covered with several layers of soil. And the peat will be subjected to a lot of heat and pressure for thousands of years, lakhs of years, or millions of years. And then you get coal. Coal is pure carbon. Okay, clear, right? Okay, in water. Yeah.
Then in the higher latitudes, temperature will be less.
Yes.
The oxygen concentration should be more.
Okay, but temperature is also a factor for decomposition, right? Okay, if temperature is very less, then the microorganisms, decomposers, will not live there, basically. Okay, so even if they live, they cannot decompose it fast. I hope you're understanding. See, that is the reason if you go to Mount Everest, okay, and then you'll see perfectly preserved bodies of climbers who died on the Mount Everest. They're like perfectly preserved because cold conditions prevents decomposition.
That is higher altitude.
Higher altitude, and even these are very cold areas, right? These are all boreal biomes, if you remember. I showed you the image, right? In boreal biome, for more than half of the year, the soil is frozen, permafrost. Okay, just in a summer is like very short, hardly 2 months or something like that. Just for that short summer, the soil will be thawed, and again it will be frozen. Okay, so decomposition is very slow. So any more doubts? Actually, this is the best way to learn, discussion. Okay, this is one way, it won't do you much good. Discussion is always good.
Are there any man-made peatlands?
No, man-made peatlands will not happen. Peat will only happen naturally, right? It will take some thousands of years to form a peatland. Okay, wetlands you can form, man-made wetlands, but peatlands cannot be formed artificially. Okay. So where are peatlands found? Just read these points, you'll understand. Majority of the world's peatlands occur in boreal and temperate parts of the northern hemisphere, especially Europe, North America, and Russia. Okay, 2 reasons: low temperature climatic conditions and waterlogged soil, waterlogged conditions. Okay, tropical peatlands are also there. Okay, so where do you find tropical peatlands? Southeast Asia, Caribbean, Central America, South America, Africa, parts of Australia, and few Pacific islands. Okay, so generally in tropical peatlands, over the peat you find thick evergreen forest. Okay, that is how peat is formed in tropical areas. It's very simple, right? Let us not get into any scientific details. They won't ask anything, beyond this. Okay. So moving on. Now, very, very important. Coastal wetlands and blue carbon. Okay, you got this question in 2021 or 22. Okay, prelims question. What is blue carbon? Okay. So, what do you mean by blue carbon? Very simple. Blue carbon is nothing but the organic carbon that accumulates in coastal wetland ecosystems. What are the various coastal wetland ecosystems? Mangroves, salt marshes, coastal lagoons, okay, and anything else is there? Seagrasses, okay, estuaries also, estuaries and seagrasses. Do you know the meaning of seagrass? Seagrass is nothing but what? It is a variety of marine plant, okay. So even inside the ocean you find forests of seagrass spread over a large area. Okay, seagrass is just like terrestrial grass, okay. So in all these ecosystems you find lot of accumulated organic carbon. So that is called blue carbon, as simple as that. Okay. So please write down the definition: blue carbon. Blue carbon. So what will I do now? I will condense all these points. I'll give you a simple definition. So that is the reason I advise you not to write anything. Okay. So please write down blue carbon. It is organic carbon that is accumulated in oceanic, or you can write marine and coastal ecosystems. Marine and coastal ecosystems. So write down seagrasses, mangroves, salt marshes, etc. That's it. Seagrasses, mangroves, salt marshes, etc. Seagrasses, mangroves, salt marshes, etc. Clear? Simple? That is the meaning of blue carbon. Okay. So just read this point. No need to write. I'll give you the PPT. Just look at this. Salt marshes and mangroves sequester carbon around 40 times faster than tropical forests. Okay. And carbon storage in mangroves is exceptionally high. So when you speak about inland wetlands, it is peatlands that contain a lot of carbon. And when you speak about coastal wetlands, it is, salt marshes and mangroves, and even seagrasses also. But out of the three, the exceptional one is mangroves. Clear? Simple? Okay. So this is how carbon sequestration will happen. Okay, this is mangrove, this is salt marsh, and this is seagrass. Now all these plants will carry out photosynthesis. Okay, and then store the organic carbon in the soil. I hope you're understanding. Clear, guys? Okay. Shall I move on? Okay. Now, what will happen if you dry the wetlands, or what will happen if you cut down the forest in the wetlands and pollute it and make it dry? Simply, what will happen if wetlands are degraded? Then all the huge amount of carbon that is stored in the wetlands will be released into the atmosphere. Okay, as simple as that. So just read these points, which are very simple. I already explained this. If I didn't explain, I wouldn't ask you to read. First I'll explain and then I'll ask you to read. So just go through this once and ask me any doubts if you have. Very simple. So in the northern hemispheres, what will happen? They clear the peatlands and convert peatlands into agricultural lands. Then that will become very fertile, because the fertility of the soil depends on what? The amount of organic matter present in this soil. Okay, now peatlands are rich in organic matter. They are filled with organic matter. So agriculture is good. Agriculture will be a success. But at what cost? At the cost of huge amounts of carbon getting released into the atmosphere. And then look at mangrove forests. Mangrove forests are converted into shrimp ponds, prawn cultivation. Okay, that will again release huge amounts of carbon. Clear, right? And I told you that peat can be used as a fuel. Okay, so if you dry up the peatland and if you burn it, or it gets accidentally burnt due to forest fire, it will keep burning for decades. The entire peatland will be burning for decades. Okay, and just you can't even imagine the amount of carbon that will get released into the atmosphere. Simple? Okay. Any doubts anybody has? Shall we move on? Okay. So what should we do? Restore the coastal wetlands. Then we can decrease greenhouse gas emissions, increase the rate of carbon sequestration, and build long-term carbon stocks, as well as disaster risk reduction. Now don't get confused about this. I'll show with the help of a video how mangroves reduce the disaster risk. Okay, what disasters am I talking about? Storm surges, okay, erosion, waves erosion, okay, rise in sea level. Those are the disasters I'm talking about. Okay, just read this, you'll understand. Okay, so now focus on this term, soil carbon concentrations. Okay, so now shall we take a small diversion and then discuss a topic which is very important? I'll again discuss that when we discuss sustainable agriculture. Okay, so just listen. I won't give you any notes for this now because anyway we'll discuss it again. Okay, so just try to understand. there is a term called soil organic carbon. Okay, what do you mean by that? First, organic carbon present in the soil, as simple as that. Now, soil organic carbon is part of soil organic matter. Okay, now soil organic matter can be either living or dead. Okay, what do you mean by dead? The dead bodies of plants and animals which are decomposing in the soil, that is dead. What do you mean by living? As I told you, around 1/4 of all the organisms on planet Earth live beneath our feet in the soil. Okay, that refers to the living component. You can also call this as, okay, you can also call this as soil biodiversity. Okay, simple. We are all made up of carbon, organic carbon. Two types, organic carbon, inorganic carbon. You know this, right? We are made up of organic carbon. CO2 is inorganic carbon. CO, carbon monoxide, is also inorganic carbon. Okay, calcium carbonate, CaCO3, is also inorganic. Okay, we are made up of organic carbon. So, soil organic carbon is part of soil organic matter. So, soil organic matter doesn't only contain organic carbon, it contains organic sulfur, organic hydrogen. See, we are made up of different elements, right? What are we made up of? Oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, calcium. Okay, all those combined together is soil organic matter. But mainly, like mostly we are made up of carbon. Okay, so soil organic carbon is important component of soil organic matter. Clear? So now, do you know that? Like you already know. Okay, I don't have to say it as an amazing fact. Do you know that? Everybody knows this already. So just think about the rising and huge Indian population. We will become the most populous country in this year, right? Overtaking China. Now, is land growing? No. But what is happening? Land fertility is coming down due to unsustainable agricultural practices. Like for example, if you continuously apply fertilizer, herbicide, weedicide, pesticide, what will happen? Soil will become acidic, soil acidification. It will also kill beneficial soil microorganisms, which are extremely important for fertility of the soil. I hope you're understanding. So some of the largest farms in India, which were giving us bumper crop, bumper production since many years, are showing a steady decline in productivity. Okay, now you don't even know the danger that is there for Indian agriculture, the pressure on Indian agriculture. It has to feed a very huge and growing population when climatic conditions are becoming erratic. I hope you're understanding. First of all, forget about climate change. Feeding a huge and growing population itself is a huge challenge. On top of that, there is another huge challenge. Okay, Indian agriculture is expected to grow when? During climate change, when already the entire world is experiencing harmful effects of climate change. Okay, just think about drought. Okay, we all know that around 60% of India's farmland still is rain-fed, depends on monsoon. And do you know that monsoon itself is highly variable, highly erratic? This highly erratic monsoon itself is becoming more and more erratic due to changing climatic patterns. Okay, think about the Pakistan floods. Okay, around 30 to 40% of the country's land was flooded. Okay, millions and millions of people displaced, and it was estimated that the country lost around $300 billion worth property. Okay, just imagine the disastrous effects. Why? Due to climate change. Okay, so drought, floods, cyclones, heat waves, cold waves, everything will destroy crops. Are you getting this, guys? Okay. So Indian agriculture has to deal with these challenges, twin challenges: growing population, climate change. Do you think it is easy? Why do you think there is a rise in farmer suicides? It is all, indirectly connected, directly or indirectly connected. I hope you're understanding. So now, how do we feed our population? Tell me. There is only one way. What is that? Sustainable agriculture. What is the difference between normal agriculture and sustainable agriculture? For example, we went for green revolution. That is not sustainable because there was spike in production. There was increase in production. But that production could not be sustained, that could not be continued. Okay. Now in parts of Punjab and Haryana, they exploited groundwater like anything. So what happened? All the salts got concentrated in the soil. If you apply more and more groundwater, what will happen? The water will get evaporated, leaving the salt behind. That will lead to soil salinity. Okay. And then applying more and more fertilizers, what will happen? Soil will become acidic. So this is all leading to land degradation. I hope you're understanding. Okay, so that is not sustainable. What is sustainable? We have to increase the production. Okay, that increased production should be there, or it should increase furthermore. It should not fall. Okay, that is the meaning of sustainable agriculture. That is the only way. Okay, so now let us come back to this. Did you understand this? Soil organic carbon, part of soil organic matter. Now, if soil is rich in organic matter, then the soil is very, 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 very healthy, extremely healthy. Just remember that at the core of sustainable agriculture is protecting soil health. The core concept of sustainable agriculture, the heart of sustainable agriculture, the soul of sustainable agriculture is what? Protecting and promoting soil health. Okay. Now, soils which are rich in organic matter, first they are obviously fertile. Second, they are more resistant. The soil particles will stick together. Soil erosion will not happen so easily. Okay. Third, they can absorb a lot of water, and not only that, they can store that water. That is called water retention property. They can absorb a lot of water and they can store that water. So we can reduce our irrigation, we can reduce water consumption. Okay. Soils which are rich in organic matter are rich in microbial population, healthy microorganisms, which will carry out decomposition, nitrogen fixation, and all these things. So many benefits are there of soils which are rich in organic matter. And which is the most important component of soil organic matter? Soil organic carbon. Nobody understood. Everybody understood? Like, is it clear? Okay. So now, what do you mean by sustainable agriculture? Very simple. All the agricultural practices that increase SOC content are sustainable agricultural practices. As simple as that. Okay. Now, with one stone, you can hit two birds. Okay. First thing, you can store more and more amount of carbon in the soil as soil organic carbon. That will reduce carbon concentration, fight against climate change. And second, you can increase the soil health. You can increase the productivity. That is the importance of soil organic carbon. Like, is this clear, guys? Are you understanding? I'm explaining something which is extremely important. Okay, all these are PYQs. And they will be asked also because these are very relevant. Okay, so actually it's very easy to clear this exam. Now don't ask me then why didn't you clear, okay? I learned all this from my mistakes and from my experience. Okay, how do you clear this exam? You should read what is relevant. How do you determine what is relevant? Can anybody give me any inputs? How to clear this exam? You should only study what is relevant. How do you determine what is relevant? Yeah, tell me, it's okay. Previous year questions you were saying? Sticking to syllabus, okay, very good. In syllabus also, the syllabus is an ocean basically. Okay, what is the difference between academic exam and competitive exam? In academic exam, you know the syllabus, you know the questions which will be asked. And in competitive exams, you know the syllabus, you don't know the questions that will be asked. Now UPSC exam is completely different. You don't know the syllabus, you don't know the questions. Okay, it's an ocean basically. Okay, so how to determine what is relevant? Very simple. Yeah, you were saying something? You want to say something? Yeah. Excellent. Which is related to current scenario, which is related to future. Future of people, future of India, future of environment, all the living organisms. Okay, so something which is contemporary. What do you mean by contemporary? Any burning issue that has been in news since the last 3 to 4 years, that is contemporary. It is still happening. You have to read that. And you should also read issues which are related to future, which will determine the future. And all these concepts are like that. Okay, that is what is relevant. Previous day, I've read an article, I forgot the name of the person. That person cleared exam with just 6 months of preparation, 6 or 7 months of preparation. That person only studied current and contemporary issues. Apart from that, basic NCRTs, and that person cleared the exam. I don't know if that person got IAS, he got maybe IRTS or IRS. Okay, just by reading the current affairs and basic NCRTs. Okay, so the exam is highly dynamic. Just keep that in mind. And all these are very, very relevant for the exam, and not only for the exam, even for your survival, for our survival, basically. Clear, right? Okay. So, did you understand the concept of SOC? What is the advantage of increasing SOC? Hitting two stones with one bird. First, reducing atmospheric CO2 concentrations. Second, increasing the soil health. Okay, and increasing the productivity. Clear, right? Okay. So, did you get all these points now? Why do you look at me like that? Are you sad or are you angry? Are you saturated like wetlands? No, are you fine? Okay. Okay, wetlands for disaster risk reduction. Okay, you are safe. You are currently on Deccan Plateau, Telangana Plateau. What is the average elevation of Hyderabad? 600 meters above sea level. You are safe. Think about the low-lying coastal communities. You don't want to think about them. If you don't want to think about them, you are in the wrong field. Okay. Now, what is the philosophy? For each and every answer you write, for each and every essay you write in the exam, what should be your philosophy? Should it be political? Should you be inclined towards any political party or any religion? No. Your philosophy should be public welfare, people's welfare. If you write your answers or essay with that orientation, you will definitely get marks, no matter what. Okay? So, think about the coastal communities. Coastal communities are most at risk from increasingly frequent natural disasters, including storm surges, flooding, and inundation from sea level rise. Okay? Salt marshes and mangroves provide the best natural defense. Okay? A mangrove forest along a coastline can decrease wave height and wave energy significantly, and reduces wave damage and erosion during high tides and storm surges. Is this complicated? I explained the meaning of storm surge. What is storm surge? During cyclones, the strong winds will push a lot of seawater towards the coast with great velocity, great speed. You can see huge waves of water coming towards the coast. Okay, they are very destructive and they cause flooding. They destroy everything in their path. Their energy, velocity, height, everything will be reduced by mangroves and salt marshes. Okay, so now I'll just show you the video. Okay, why should you believe me blindly, right? Okay, just look at this simulation. So these are waves, mangrove forest. Look at the water, how peaceful and calm it is. Okay, so that is how mangroves will. Do you want to watch it again? So just imagine these are, storm surges. Okay, mangrove forest. And look at the water there near the coast, how stable and peaceful it is. So that is the beauty of mangroves. Now do you accept this? Okay. So let us be scientific. For everything will, demand evidence. Okay. Okay, so just write down this point. Salt marshes and mangroves. Salt marshes and mangroves. How do you insert this now? Yeah. Okay, right on. Salt marshes and mangroves. reduce the intensity and height of storm surges and waves and increase the resilience of coastal communities. Increase the resilience of coastal communities. Okay, done? Okay, so the same thing which I showed you. So, just look at this. This is, the red line is surge level. What do you mean by surge? Increase in water level suddenly. Surge level without mangroves, and the blue line is surge level with mangroves. Okay, so the surge will come from this direction. This is coast and this entire thing is ocean, it will come from this direction. So without mangroves, the sea level will be till here. Okay, with mangroves, the blue line, the sea level will be till here. Just look at the height difference here. Okay. Okay, very good question, because India basically. Okay, actually we are growing and already we have a lot of mangroves. We'll discuss that. Mangroves in India. It's just that we have to make sure that they are not degraded. We have to protect the existing mangroves against degradation, deforestation, degradation. Okay, we'll look at the mangroves in India. Don't worry. Okay, move on. Okay, mangroves. So please write down the heading mangroves. Mangroves are the real heroes. Mangroves. Okay, so just look at the first point. Mangroves are littoral forest ecosystem. Now, what do you mean by the word littoral? Littoral means at the edge of a water body. That water body can be a lake, river, pond, ocean, it doesn't matter. So littoral means at the edge of a water body. And we all know that mangroves are ecotones between what? Terrestrial forest and marine forest. These are coastal forests. Okay, so just write down one point which I say. Please write down. Mangroves are ecotones between terrestrial forests and marine forests. Okay, clear? Now this point is very, 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 very important. So just look, try to understand. First of all, mangroves are only found in tropical and subtropical regions. Okay, you cannot find mangroves in temperate regions. Okay, mangroves are only found in tropical and subtropical regions. First of all, mangroves are salt tolerant plants. This is salt water, right? Okay, they are salt tolerant plants. But in reality, nothing is salt tolerant. They have a technique to fight against salt water. Okay, so they have special roots which will directly take air. Okay, so with the help of these roots and intense sunlight, they filter the salt from the water. I hope you're understanding. They have special roots. The roots have a name, but we'll just ignore that. The roots will take in air, and with the help of intense sunlight, they will filter the salt from the water. So they always need intense and bright sunlight to survive. So that is the reason mangroves are only found in tropical and subtropical regions. Clear? So now, where in tropical and subtropical regions? Coasts, estuaries, backwaters, marshes, tidal creeks, in all these places. You know the meaning of coast. You know the meaning of estuaries. You know the meaning of backwaters? Backwaters are nothing but coastal lagoons, like the backwaters of Kerala. What do you mean by lagoon? Lagoon is a shallow saltwater lake present on land. Okay. Now, what do you mean by tidal creek? Any idea? What do you mean by tidal creek? Very simple. So just imagine that the land is like this. This is land and this is sea. Okay. Now, what do you mean by high tide? Can anybody define what is high tide? Yeah, tell me. It's okay, you were saying something, right? Nobody was saying anything? High tide. What is high tide? Guys, it's very simple. Okay. High tide is nothing but rise in sea level. Okay. Now, where do you actually observe the effects of high tides? In small areas like this. Okay. In the open ocean, you cannot see the rise in sea level due to high tide. Okay. Where do you see the effect? In small places like this. Why? During low tide, this area will have very low water level because small area, right? But during high tide, a lot of water rushes over here. So you can actually see the increase in the level of the water. So it is in these small places you can see the effects of high tide and low tide. So this small area is called tidal creek. Okay. So this tidal creek is continuously filled with tide water whenever there is high tide. Okay. So tidal creeks, estuaries, coast, backwaters, salt marshes, in all these places you can see mangroves. Did you get this? Sure? Okay. So now mangroves are salt tolerant trees and they are called halophytes. What do you mean by halophytes? Salt tolerant plants. Okay. Now look at this point. Mangroves are only present in tropics and subtropics. Why? They need intense sunlight to filter the salt from the water. So they are mainly found between 25° north and 25° south latitudes, where solar radiation is very intense. Clear? Simple? So just look at this point, whatever I explained. Just read this once. They require intense solar radiation to filter salt water through their roots. This is the reason mangroves are confined to only tropics and subtropics. Simple, right? Okay, if you have any doubts, you can stop me and ask. So this is where you find mangroves. Few mangroves can be, beyond the 25° and north and south, but very rare. Most of them are confined between 25° north and 25° south latitudes. Okay, so are these actually helping you to get some clarity? These images, maps, and all that? Okay, mangroves protect the shoreline from the effect of cyclones and coastal erosion. What happens during cyclones? Storm surges. The same concept again. Okay, and rise in sea level also. That is called stabilizing the coastline. Okay. Now, all these are the benefits of mangroves or the significance of mangroves. First, we all know this. Mangroves are important carbon sink. Yes. Okay. Now, near the mangroves, the water is stable and also, the soil is rich in organic matter. So, obviously, these places are rich with biodiversity. Okay. Many varieties of turtles and fish lay eggs here because they are protected from waves and ocean currents. Okay. So, look at this. A large variety of wildlife lives and breeds in the mangrove ecosystems, including many species of fish which are commercially important. Crab, shrimp, mollusks, sea turtles, all these live and breed near the mangroves. They lay eggs there. Okay. Mangrove trees are home to many nesting and migratory birds. Basically, mangroves are wetlands. Where do you find wetlands? There you find birds. Okay. Birds are edge species for wetlands. Okay. Mangrove is also a type of wetland. So, wherever you find wetlands, there you find rich variety of birds. Okay. Mangroves are breeding and spawning ground for many commercially important varieties of fish. Simple? Okay. Now, from the mangrove trees, you get hardwood for construction. From mangrove trees, you also get medicinal plants. Okay. Leaves of mangrove trees are used as animal fodder, animal feed, cattle feed. Okay. And the mangrove waters provide local fishermen with rich supply of fish, crab, shellfish, the same point. And then mangroves also encourage tourism. Okay. You have to visit Sundarbans, you have to visit Peechavaram, mangrove forest in Tamil Nadu. All these are very beautiful. And then Bhitarkanika. We'll discuss all this now, don't worry. Clear? Okay. The mangrove wood, if it is dried, it can be burnt directly. Same like, you get firewood from the forest, dried wood. The same way you can cut down the mangrove wood, you can dry it and then burn it for cooking. Okay, same like you collect firewood from the forest. Okay, clear? Okay, mangroves in India. Sundarbans. When you speak about mangroves in India, what is the first thing that should come to your mind? Sundarbans. Actually, Sundarbans is the largest mangrove forest in the world. It covers an area of 20,400 square kilometers. Huge. Okay. So, where do you find Sundarban mangroves? This delta. Delta formed by Ganga and Brahmaputra, which is the largest delta in the world. Just think about the quantity of alluvium that is deposited here. Okay, very, very rich and fertile and rich in mangrove trees. Okay. So, why do you call them as Sundarbans? Because Sundari tree is widespread. It is actually a variety of mangrove. It is a species of mangrove, and that is Sundari tree. That is the reason we call them as Sundarbans. Okay, you can find tigers here, saltwater crocodiles, whatnot, reptiles, everything. Okay. Now, where do you find Sundarban forest? In the vast delta formed by Hooghly, Padma. Padma is nothing but Ganga in Bangladesh, Brahmaputra and Meghna rivers. It's a huge delta, the world's largest delta. Okay. And this is how it looks like. If any current affairs are there, I will include current affairs as part of the discussion, don't worry. Okay. Now, protected areas in the Sundarbans include Sundarbans National Park and Sajna Kali Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, what is the difference between National Park and Wildlife Sanctuary? We will discuss in the last chapter, which is India's laws and policies. There is a huge law. That law will take at least 2 classes for me to explain. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Under that, we'll discuss what are national parks, what are wildlife sanctuaries, what are tiger reserves, what is the difference, what about the governance structure and all that. Okay, so don't worry about it now. So, Sundarban National Park is a national park. It is also a tiger reserve and it is also a biosphere reserve. The difference we'll discuss later. Or we'll do one thing. We'll discuss the difference as part of biodiversity chapter also. Don't worry. I'll give you an introduction in biodiversity chapter and then we'll discuss the technical details as part of Wildlife Protection Act. Okay. And it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is very, very important. Now, do you know the meaning of World Heritage Site? Tell me. If you will tell, you'll give me group answers, which I cannot understand. Okay, or else you won't tell anything. Well, okay, but Sundarbans is a natural place, right? Okay, so we have both historical places and natural places. Do you want me to explain this for some time? Okay, now, for that, you have to tell me the meaning of the word heritage. What do you mean by heritage? Excellent. Heritage is nothing but something which is transferred from the previous generations to the next generations. Heritage is something which you inherit. Like we inherit our parents' property, right? Okay. We also inherit so many other things. Apart from your land or house, which you inherit from your parents, you also inherit so many other things. What do you inherit? You inherit the natural environment. Okay. You also inherit some historically famous and significant places. What do you mean by that? It is your responsibility to protect them. Okay, so that is the meaning of heritage. Now, as I told you, heritage is of two types, natural heritage and cultural heritage. Okay, what do you mean by cultural heritage? Very simple, your culture, okay, your language, religion, food habits, lifestyle, clothes, which you inherited from your past generations and which you are going to share with your future generations. That is cultural heritage. Simple, right? Now, what do you mean by natural heritage? Very simple, the natural environment. Okay, I'm referring to the various geological formations like mountains, valleys, plains, plateaus, lakes, the biodiversity, the various natural resources which you inherited from the past generations and which you will share with the future generations. That is the meaning of natural heritage. Okay, so now we inherited comparatively cleaner environment from the previous generations. Now, what type of environment are we going to share with the future generations? That is a question we need to ask ourselves. Don't you think so? So, did you understand the difference between natural heritage and cultural heritage? Now, UNESCO World Heritage Sites are both cultural heritage sites and natural heritage sites. Okay, so we all know about UNESCO, right? We keep getting WhatsApp messages. UNESCO selected Indian national anthem as the best anthem and all that. Okay, which you should not believe. Okay, so UNESCO. So under UNESCO, there is a body called World Heritage Committee. There are, 21 countries in this committee. Every year, elections will be held so that all the countries can be part of this committee. So World Heritage Committee is running a program called International World Heritage Program. As part of this program, a list is maintained, World Heritage List. All the places that are included in World Heritage List are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Now these can be natural sites and cultural sites. Okay, we have both natural as well as cultural sites in India. We all know cultural, right? Taj Mahal, Mahabalipuram, Ajanta Ellora. We also have natural, Sundarbans, okay, Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, and then Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, Western Ghats, Biosphere Reserve. All these are many more. All these are natural heritage sites. Simple? Did you understand, everybody? Okay, so that is UNESCO World Heritage Site. And also it is a Ramsar site. Now what do you mean by Ramsar site? We'll discuss in this chapter. Very, very important. You have something called Ramsar Convention. Okay, extremely important. So clear till here? Shall I move on? Okay, so with this we are done with mangroves of Sundarbans. So now we have to discuss about mangroves of Bhitarkanika in Odisha. Okay, now everybody knows that Sundarbans are the largest mangrove forest in India, but there is no clarity regarding the second largest mangrove forest in India. If you read about Bhitarkanika, many textbook and websites will say that that is the second largest. If you read about Koringa mangroves, many websites will say that that is the second largest. If you read about mangroves in Andaman Nicobar, they will say that that is the second largest. No clarity. Okay, but this is what many websites say, websites and materials say. Bhitarkanika is the second largest in Indian subcontinent. Nobody has any clarity. I hope you understood. Okay, now second largest in terms of land area, but the most species rich mangrove forest in India. Okay, please understand. Bhitarkanika is the most species rich mangrove forest in India. What do you mean by that? In Bhitarkanika forest, you find many varieties of mangrove trees. They are so rich in species diversity. Nobody's understanding, everybody's writing down. I'll share this material with you, right? So why do you want to do double work? It's up to you, but no point. Just sit back, relax, understand. Understanding is more important. Okay? So, clear till here, guys? Most species rich. So it is spread across 672 square kilometers. Okay? Now, try to understand this point. Bhitarkanika National Park. Okay, Bhitarkanika Forest and Bhitarkanika National Park is spread across creeks and canals. What do you mean by creek? Tidal creek. Okay, creeks and canals which are inundated with waters from the rivers of Brahmani, Baitarani, Dhamra and Patasala. Okay, so very simple. It's a huge estuary kind of thing. Many rivers drain into this estuary. What are those rivers? Brahmani, Baitarani, Dhamra and Patasala. So a vast alluvial tract is formed. In this you find Bitarikanika mangrove forest. Okay. Now in this forest you have Bitarkanika National Park, very important. And the national park is spread across this area. Simple guys? Okay. Now, what is this? Okay. So now, all these points are very important. This is a current affair also. Bitarikanika mangrove forest is a breeding ground for saltwater crocodiles. It is a crocodile sanctuary. It is a national park cum crocodile sanctuary. Saltwater crocodiles are the largest crocodiles on planet Earth. Okay? Saltwater crocodiles. Now, at the eastern boundary of the national park, there is a wildlife sanctuary called Gahirmatha Beach, Gahirmatha Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay? Every year during summer, that is, somewhere between January to March, olive ridley sea turtles will come here for nesting. Okay? All these are extremely important. Try to understand. Okay? Now, olive ridley sea turtles are an endangered variety, endangered species. Okay? So, they come to Gahirmatha Beach, Gahirmatha Wildlife Sanctuary. They lay eggs and they go back. The eggs will hatch and the sea turtles will, the baby turtles will go into the water. Clear? So, Bitarikanika mangrove forest, first you have Bitarkanika National Park and then you have Gahirmatha Beach, Gahirmatha Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay? What is so special about national park? It is also a breeding place, it is also a crocodile sanctuary for saltwater crocodiles. Saltwater crocodiles are the largest variety of crocodiles on planet Earth. Okay? Gahirmatha Wildlife Sanctuary, olive ridley sea turtles. Okay? So, in India, it is the largest colony of olive ridley sea turtles. They don't only come to India, they go to other places also. In India, most of them come to Gahirmatha Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay? Yeah, only turtles. Because for crocodile sanctuary, we have separate thing. Crocodiles are sent there, they'll eat away everything. Okay? So, this is olive ridley sea turtle and this is how they come, lay eggs and go back. I guess these are baby turtles. Okay?
In India, where will we find the crocodiles, saltwater crocodiles?
Yeah, in Bitarkanika and also in Koringa mangroves of Krishna Godavari Delta. Okay, at Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep. Okay, basically in all the coastal areas you can find saltwater crocodiles. But there needs to be an estuary, a coastal lagoon. Only there you can find saltwater crocodiles. Okay, there is one more variety of crocodile called Gharial. It has a long, thin nose. Okay, so that is found in Chambal Sanctuary. Chambal is a tributary of Yamuna. We'll discuss that also. There is a crocodile conservation program in India going on. So we'll discuss that as part of India's laws and policies. Okay. So now, this is a current affair. I think it came in news in August 2022. Okay. So basically, since 1975, crocodile breeding and conservation program is going on in Bitarkanika National Park. Okay. But by 1990 itself, the sanctuary reached saturation point. What do you mean by that? There are so many crocodiles there. Okay, and these are very large, these are very powerful. Okay, and these are territorial animals. That means each animal needs a specific territory. It won't allow any other crocodile to come into that territory. Okay, so currently, it is overpopulated with crocodiles. It is saturated. Okay, they stopped the breeding program in 1990 itself, but still, it is saturated. The population is exploding there. Okay, so maybe we need to increase the area. Okay, we cannot kill the crocodiles, right? We need to increase the area. Okay, so just look at this. Recently, the Bitarkanika National Park has reached a saturation point in the population of crocodile, which could lead to more human-crocodile conflict. Okay, so since this program started, around 60 to 70 people have died due to crocodile attacks, and all these are fishermen, obviously. Okay, just keep one thing in mind. Due to man-animal conflict, it is always the poor people who get killed, not the rich ones. Okay. Now, Bhitarkanika, this point is very important. If at all you want to write, you can write this. Bhitarkanika has 70% of the country's saltwater crocodiles. Okay. If at all you want to write, you can write on this point. And all these are important bits. Bhitarkanika Crocodile Sanctuary has 70% of the country's saltwater crocodile population. Salt water. అందుకనే మనం కోస్టల్ ఏరియాస్లో
వాటర్ ఉండే ఆర్గానిజమ్స్ స్పీషీస్ అన్ని వాటి బాడీ సర్ఫేస్ సాఫ్ట్గా అంటే షార్క్స్ కానీ టార్టాయిస్ ఫిషెస్ సాఫ్ట్గా ఉంటాయి. క్రొకోడైల్స్ కి స్పైన్స్ లాగా
ఇవి కోస్టల్ ఏరియాస్ ఉంటాయి. ఇవి దే డోంట్ లివ్ ఇన్ ది ఓషన్ కంప్లీట్లీ, ఓన్లీ ఇన్ కోస్టల్ ఏరియాస్. మ్యాంగ్రూవ్స్ అంటున్నాం కదా, మ్యాంగ్రూవ్స్ కోస్టల్ ఈకోసిస్టమ్స్. సో జస్ట్ కోస్టల్ ఏరియాస్లో ఉంటాయి. ఇక్కడ కూడా మనకు సాల్ట్ వాటర్ ఉంటుంది, అందుకని సాల్ట్ వాటర్ క్రొకోడైల్ అంటాం. అవి డీప్ సీలోకి వెళ్ళవు. మీరు చెప్పే షార్క్స్, వేల్స్ ఇవన్నీ డీప్ సీలో ఉంటాయి. Okay, so crocodiles are considered to be one of the most ancient organisms. Okay, scientists say that they remained as they are in this body shape structure for millions and millions of years. Okay, so maybe crocodiles are in their final stage of evolution. In tarvata em change gaademo mari, because since millions of years they remained like that, and these are apex predators. Okay, wherever they are apex predators. Nothing can hunt them. So maybe that is one of the adaptation mechanism, because the skin is very hard. Okay, basically all this will happen due to genetic mutations. Do you know about genetic mutations? Okay, some mutations we create purposefully in plants to create beneficial characteristics. Okay, for example, the farmers and local communities, okay, they are the real magicians, they are the real scientists. Since many generations, they have created, plants which have very, very beautiful properties. Some food crops are drought resistant. Some food crops are pest resistant. Some food crops can withstand high temperatures. I hope you're understanding. How do you create them? Selective cultivation and selective breeding. Okay. Now, I know one plant which is drought resistant. I know one plant which is pest resistant. I will breed them together. Now there is 1 in 1,000 chance that the offspring will have both the characteristics. So they will wait for such offspring to come, which has both the properties. They will save the seeds and they'll cultivate. They'll again breed. Okay, completely trial and error method, completely experimentation. Okay, like throwing a stone in the dark, but they have done that. Okay. So now we find, for example, for rice, we find around 7,000 to 8,000 varieties of rice on planet. Who created all these varieties? There was only one variety, wild variety. From the wild variety, we have domesticated and we have created so many varieties. Each variety has unique and special properties. Don't you think so? Okay, who created all this? This wealth, the real wealth. Who created? Farmers and local communities. Okay. So this type of genetic mutations, changes in DNA, are done purposefully. Okay, but many mutations happen automatically, naturally, and we cannot do anything about it. I hope you're understanding. So due to genetic mutations also, all these spines, all this will come. Okay. So any more questions anybody has? Okay. So clear till here? Olive ridley turtle and saltwater crocodile. Now, mangroves of Peechavaram and Vedaranyam in Tamil Nadu, they are degraded mainly due to construction of aquaculture ponds and salt pans. Okay, so what do you mean by aquaculture pond? Tell me, at least tell me this. What do you mean by aquaculture pond? Cultivation of fish, right? Commercial cultivation of fish. Okay, even that will degrade the mangroves. I hope you're understanding. Now, in Gujarat, northwest coast, mangroves are found mainly in Gulf of Kutch and Kori Creek. Where is Kori Creek? Do you see this small cut here? This is Kori Creek. Okay, so in Gulf of Kutch and Kori Creek, you find mangroves. Okay, so now let us come to the mangroves which are very close to us, Koringa mangroves. Okay, mangroves at the Koringa Wildlife Sanctuary in AP are located in the estuaries of Godavari and Krishna rivers. Clear? They are called Koringa mangroves. It is a large mangrove forest. Now, whenever the word Koringa mangroves come, you immediately have to think about this animal which is called fishing cat. Okay, it is an endangered species. What do you mean by endangered species? It is near extinction. If you don't start conservation measures in the very near future, this species will go extinct. That means it will no longer be on the planet Earth, completely wiped out. Okay, so Koringa mangroves, fishing cat, very, very important. Just remember like this. So, fishing cat, apart from that, there are other endangered species also, otter, jackal, sea turtles, seagull, pelican, etc., etc. Flamingos, you know flamingos, right? They are pink in color. Okay, all these beautiful animals. And olive ridley turtles also come here. Look at the last point. The sanctuary also has a site where olive ridley turtles nest from January to March every year. That is about Koringa Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, so Koringa Wildlife Sanctuary, fishing cat, very important. Clear? Okay, so this is the mangrove distribution in India. Okay, we have discussed all the important ones, and apart from that, there are also mangroves in Andaman and Nicobar. Already we have discussed Kaveri deltaic mangroves, Vedaranyam and Peechavaram in Tamil Nadu. So any doubts anybody has, just look at these points, you'll understand. In size, mangroves range from bushy dwarf, dwarf means short mangroves found in Gulf of Kutch to taller species found in Sundarbans. Okay. On the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the small estuaries and lagoons support a dense and diverse undisturbed mangrove flora. Okay. Okay, do you know about the Jarwa and the Ong tribes that live in Andaman and Nicobar? There are many more. Okay, but Jarwa and Ong tribes, these are very famous. Do you know them? Do you know about them? No idea? Okay. So these tribes, they are very shy and also they are very hostile to outsiders. They don't make any contact with the outsiders. So whenever there is any outsider coming, they immediately go into the forest, and if we are trying to enter into the forest, they'll warn us. Okay, they don't maintain any contact, and that is good. Why? We don't spread any diseases to them because they don't have immunity. Basically, we have immunity because we are exposed to all sorts of microorganisms. So we have those genes. They don't have those genes. Okay, and they have to, preserve their distinct culture, their practices. Okay, and you should not look at them like wild animals, right? They are human beings. They deserve that respect and dignity. But now the situation has become so worse that if at all you visit Andaman and Nicobar, okay, you will see them coming near tourist buses and begging for food. It has become so bad. Okay, so actually we have done that. Whenever tourists go, they simply throw food from the buses. Okay, they will collect the food. So it has become a lifestyle for them. So they used to hunt, they used to practice their traditional culture, they used to live with dignity and respect. We have entirely spoiled it. We have reduced the area of forest. We have established contact with these tribes. And the women, they carry their children and they come to the buses and beg for food. See, that is what we have done. Okay, is that the way to encourage the tourism industry? Very worst, right? So Indian tourists and Chinese tourists, these are very worst actually. They don't respect those areas. Okay, especially the Chinese tourists. They go to the pyramids in Egypt. They litter plastic waste everywhere. They step on those things. They are not allowed to do that. They'll do all sorts of rubbish there. Okay, so unfortunately that is the system. Okay, so with this we are done with mangroves. So any question anybody has, any doubts anybody have? No? Okay. So what is the time? Shall we move on to Ramsar Convention? Very, very important. Okay. So measures to protect wetlands. Please write down the heading Ramsar Convention. Extremely important. Okay. So first of all, let me start from the basics. Look at this point first. India is a party to Ramsar Convention. Okay. Can you see this point here? Everybody? First of all, what do you mean by convention? Let us start from the basics, because in the environment we'll be discussing so many conventions. So let me start with the basics. Once we deal with this, we are done. Then we can start discussing the conventions. So is international relations over for you? IR over for you? Going on? So then tell me, what do you mean by convention? Why don't you answer? There is no right answer or wrong answer. Okay, we are all learning, right? So you can tell me, what do you mean by convention? What is that? I didn't get you. Global conservation, okay. That is for environment, but you also have other conventions, right? Okay, you have nuclear conventions, you have conventions about international waters. Okay, so what do you mean by convention basically? You're saying something? Okay, so you become IFS officers. How many want to become an IFS? You don't want to tell me? Okay, it's your secret, okay. So you'll become IFS tomorrow, okay, and you have to represent India in those discussions, meetings of the convention. For example, you have to go to Italy, okay. You'll happily go there, roam, eat. Even if you do any mistake also, they won't arrest you because you'll have diplomatic immunity. You have diplomatic passport, okay. So you'll happily enjoy, you'll sit there in AC conference hall, sign and come back. That is convention, okay. See, that is really convention, okay. So anyway, convention is nothing but an agreement between the countries. Convention or treaty is an agreement between the countries, okay. Now conventions are of two types, legally binding and legally non-binding, okay. So for example, Ramsar Convention is a legally binding convention and India is a party to it. I'll tell you the meaning of the word party, don't worry. India is a party to Ramsar Convention, which is legally binding. What do you mean by that? Very simple. The provisions of Ramsar Convention, India has to implement within India by passing a law and a government, rule or government policy scheme that is legally binding. Okay. So whatever India agrees to here, India should implement that within India by making a law or by making some government rules, policies or something. That is the meaning of legally binding agreement. What do you mean by legally non-binding? Legally non-binding agreements give suggestions, okay, to the countries. Legally non-binding agreements also have principles which will help the country to make their own policy. Okay, so legally non-binding agreements are suggestive or advisory in nature. Okay, they contain some principles and what to do, what not to do, advices, guidelines and all that. Whenever the country can, it will use those and implement. But if it is legally binding, then India should implement that. Okay, not immediately, take your own time, but you should implement that by making your own law or policy or program. That is the difference between legally binding and legally non-binding. Now, what do you mean by party? Very simple. Now, the head of the country, the Prime Minister, okay, will go and sign the convention. That is simply called signing. Okay, the work is not over. After signing, India should ratify. What do you mean by ratification? Passing it through the parliament, like passing a law. That means the legislature should approve. Once signing and ratification is done, then a country will become party to a convention. So India has signed and ratified Ramsar Convention. So India is a party to Ramsar Convention. Okay, and Ramsar Convention is legally binding. What do you mean by that? The provisions of Ramsar Convention, India should implement by making a law or a policy or whatever it is. India should implement. India should give some legal force to that. Clear? That is the meaning of legally binding. Okay, so now So Ramsar Convention is international treaty for the conservation and sustainable use of wetlands. First of all, we all know the importance of wetlands. Okay, at this stage, we are very well convinced that wetlands are extremely important. Wetlands can be called as one of the most important ecosystems on planet Earth, and you all agree that wetlands should be protected. Do you agree? Everybody. Okay. So now, the convention was signed on 2nd February 1971. So 2nd February of every year is celebrated as World Wetlands Day. Okay. And why do you call it as Ramsar? Because the convention was signed in Ramsar, a city in Iran. Okay. Simple. Now, what is the philosophy behind Ramsar Convention? It is the wise use of wetlands. Okay. So just try to understand now. The wise use concept is a bit tricky. Okay. It is legally binding. And what is the philosophy? Wise use. That means what? All the countries that signed and ratified Ramsar Convention have promised that they will adopt the principle of wise use of wetlands in their country by making any law or policy. Shall I repeat this one more time? Very simple. Ramsar Convention is legally binding. What is the philosophy of Ramsar Convention? Wise use of wetlands. That means all the countries that signed and ratified Ramsar Convention, all the countries that are party to Ramsar Convention promised or they accepted that they will use wise use concept to implement Ramsar Convention in the country by making any law or policy. That means if India makes any law or any policy for conserving wetlands, it should be based on the principle of wise use of wetlands. Nobody understood. Everybody understood? Are you finding it difficult to understand, or am I going too fast? No? Is everybody fine? Okay. So, did you write any point till here? No? You waited for me? Seriously, you waited for me? I don't believe that. Okay. Did you really wait for me? Okay. Then please write down 1 or 2 points. Ramsar Convention. It is a legally binding treaty It is a legally binding treaty to which India is a party of, or you can write in this way, to which India is a party to. To which India is a party to. Okay, write down. The philosophy behind Ramsar Convention is wise use of wetlands. Wise use of wetlands. Okay, so obviously if you want to understand the convention, you have to understand the concept of wise use. Simple. So please write down the side heading wise use. Wise use. Okay, so now from wetlands we get so many goods and services. Okay, what are the goods we get from wetlands? We get wood basically from the plants, we get fish, okay, we get medicinal plants, we get fruits, flowers, wild honey, rubber, all the things that you get from a forest, you get from wetland. These are the various goods you get from wetland. You also get few services from wetland. What is that? Carbon sequestration, aesthetic value, beauty, okay, tourism, peace of mind, all these things you get. Can you enjoy it or can you not enjoy it? You have a right to enjoy it. Okay, mankind has undeniable right to enjoy the fruits of nature. All the countries accepted this first. Okay, every country, every population, every community has a right to enjoy fruits. or benefits given by wetlands. So we can all use wetlands, but should that usage be exploitation? Okay, now you tell me, what is the difference between usage and exploitation? Okay. Okay, excellent. I use wetlands, and again tomorrow I have to go and use the wetlands. That means wetlands should remain as they are. Okay. What is exploitation? Using and destroying, that is exploitation. That is not allowed. I can use wetlands. So I can use wetlands without changing its ecological character. Please try to understand wise use concept, very, very important. Okay. Very frequently asked by UPSC, very, very frequently. So what do you mean by wise use? I can use the wetlands without changing its ecological character. What do you mean by ecological character? Very simple. All the things in wetlands, all the interactions, the balance, homeostasis should remain as it is. Okay, nothing should get disturbed. That means I should not create any disturbance which is beyond the assimilative capacity. Okay, in an ecosystem, without any disturbance, things will happen in a balanced way. They should continue like that. That is the meaning of ecological character. And that is the meaning of wise use of wetlands, as simple as that. Okay, so using wetlands without changing the ecological character. What do you mean by ecological character? Negative changes occurring in the wetland, like decrease in biodiversity, decrease in area, okay, imbalance in the various interactions happening in the ecosystem, degradation, okay, all these are negative ecological changes. They should not happen. As simple as that. Wise use concept. Okay, so please read this, extremely important. Ramsar philosophy is the wise use concept. Wise use of wetlands is defined as the maintenance of their ecological character. We have to use wetlands and maintain ecological character. Now, how do you achieve this? You can achieve this through creating awareness about the various ecological benefits provided by wetlands, and by emphasizing on the concept of sustainable usage or sustainable development of wetlands. Very simple. You have to use wetlands and maintain their ecological character. Fine, it is so easy to say, but difficult to do. How do you do that? Create awareness among the people about the importance of wetlands and stress on sustainable use of wetlands. As simple as that. That is wise use concept. I simplified this point. I have written a point here. Wise use therefore means conservation and sustainable use of wetlands and their resources for the benefit of mankind. As simple as that. Okay. So now you don't have to write this because I will give this in your material, but write down this point. Very important. Wise use means conservation and sustainable use of wetlands wise use means conservation and sustainable use of wetlands for the benefit of mankind. For the benefit of mankind. Okay. So in 2019 mains you got a question. That is like the best question UPSC has ever asked. Okay, if you leave such questions, you are defeating yourself. The question is so simple. What is the wetland? Question mark. Explain the wise use concept. Question mark. That's it. That is the question. Okay. And if you don't answer such questions in mains, you are defeating yourself. Easiest. Extremely easy question. Okay. Now, I encourage you to do answer writing practice. Are you already doing answer writing practice? Yes? Okay, so you can write an answer to this question, 2019 mains question. What is a wetland? What is the, explain the concept of wise use. That's it. Explain the wise use concept. That is the 2019 mains question. So if at all you want to write, you can write. Okay, done. So Do you think we are done with Ramsar Convention? No, we have just started the discussion. Okay, we are not even half done with the Ramsar Convention. So, do you want me to continue? Like, will you focus? Okay, you have to focus till the end of this concept. Now, India is a party to Ramsar Convention. So, India accepted wise use concept. India promised in front of all the countries, like every country promised. India also promised in front of all the countries that it will incorporate wise use concept in all of its laws and policies regarding wetlands. Okay, not only that, all the countries agreed for few other things. Under the Ramsar Convention, all the countries agreed for few other things. What is the next thing? Very simple. The countries accepted that they will start protecting all the important wetlands within their territory. Second, the countries accepted that they will identify few important wetlands which will be added to a list called Ramsar list. Okay, so all the countries accepted that they will identify few important wetlands within their own territories. Those wetlands will be included into a list called Ramsar list. The official name is List of Wetlands of International Importance. Okay, now once a wetland is added to this list, it shows the country's commitment towards protecting it at any cost. For example, Sundarbans was added into Ramsar list in 2019. It means what? India promised that it is going to protect Sundarbans at any cost and prevent negative ecological changes from happening. Okay, and the last, countries also promised that they are going to cooperate for transboundary wetlands, wetlands which are spread across national boundaries. Simple. So basically, all the parties to Ramsar Convention agreed on few things. What is the first? They accepted wise use concept. Clear? Second, what did they accept? They accepted that they are going to protect important wetlands within their territories. Third, they all accepted that they are going to identify few important wetlands and add them to a list. What is that list? Ramsar list. What is the other name? List of Wetlands of International Importance. What is so important about this list? Why is this list significant? Because once a wetland is added to this list, it shows the country's commitment towards protecting that wetland at any cost and preventing negative ecological changes from happening in that wetland. Now, not every wetland can be added into Ramsar list. Okay, the Ramsar Convention gave a 14-point criteria to identify such important wetlands which can be added to Ramsar list. Clear? And what is the last agreement? Last point of agreement? The parties. Now let us not call them as countries. We'll use the word parties. They're all parties to the convention. So the parties accepted that they will cooperate on transboundary wetlands. That is Ramsar Convention. As simple as that. Okay? So please write down. Normally I wouldn't ask you to write, but this is very important. So if you have this in your running notes, it will benefit you. Okay? So write down. The parties to Ramsar Convention the parties to the Ramsar Convention agreed on, put a colon and write down the first point under that, agreed on, first point, the wise use concept. The wise use concept. Second thing, conserving wetlands within their territories. Conserving wetlands within their territories. Next, third, identify important wetlands identify important wetlands on the basis of Ramsar criteria. Identify important wetlands on the basis of Ramsar criteria to be added to list of wetlands of international importance. To be added to list of wetlands of international importance. Also called Ramsar list. Also called Ramsar list. Okay, two more points are there. Will you write? Are you fine? Okay, write down. If a wetland is added to Ramsar list, if a wetland is added to the Ramsar list, it signifies the government's commitment towards protecting it. It signifies the government's commitment towards protecting it. And just write down the last point. The parties agreed on cooperating for transboundary wetlands. The parties agreed on cooperating for transboundary wetlands. Okay, so that is Ramsar Convention. So just read this now. Okay, we'll discuss this also, don't worry. Under the convention, the contracting parties, that means countries that have signed and ratified, commit to work towards wise use of all their wetlands, designate suitable wetlands to be included in list of wetlands of international importance called the Ramsar list, cooperate internationally on transboundary wetlands. And look at the point in red. If a wetland is added to Ramsar list, it shows the government's commitment towards protecting the wetland and maintaining its ecological character. As simple as that. Clear? Now, everything is going on so smoothly, right? But there is a twist here, okay, which nobody likes in Ramsar Convention. Till here you understood everything, but now there is a twist here, plot twist. Okay, now, what do you mean by a wetland? Very basic question. If you don't tell me, I'll feel very sad now. Okay, if you want my happiness, you'll answer me. What do you mean by wetland? Tell me. Waterlogged area, excellent. Yeah. Soggy soil or hydric soil? Okay, very simple. Wetland is that land area whose soil is saturated with water. Soil absorbed a lot of water. It cannot absorb any more. There is a thin layer of water on top of the soil. It is somewhere between dry land and water body. It is an ecotone. That is the definition of wetland which we know. That is the actual definition of wetland. That is the geographical as well as ecological definition of wetland. That is correct. But Ramsar Convention, for the purpose of conservation, okay, not only includes wetlands under the definition of wetlands, it also includes water bodies like lakes, rivers and ponds. Okay, so very simple. Ramsar Convention uses a broad definition of wetlands. It not only includes wetlands, it also includes aquatic ecosystems or water bodies under the definition of wetlands. Why? For the purpose of conservation. Okay, so that is one thing which you have to keep in mind. Okay, so now let us look at a Ramsar definition of wetlands. This is the Ramsar definition of wetlands. This is not the geographical definition of wetlands. This is the Ramsar. Okay? So now let us read this together. Wetlands are areas of marsh. You know the meaning of marsh? Peatland. You know the meaning of peat? Or water, whether natural or artificial. That means man-made wetlands, natural wetlands. Permanent or temporary. With water that is static or flowing, fresh, brackish or salt, including areas of marine water, the depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. I'll explain this, don't worry. Look at this. So the definition includes all lakes and rivers, not only that, even groundwater bodies, aquifers, swamps and marshes, wet grasslands, peatland, oases, estuaries, deltas, mangroves, and all human-made sites, such as fish ponds and reservoirs. So the definition is very, very broad. Okay? I just want you to ignore this last part, which I'm going to explain now. Okay, so apart from this, did you guys understand the Ramsar definition of wetlands? Okay? Marsh, peatland, water, natural or artificial. For example, Keoladeo National Park, Rajasthan, man-made wetland, also called Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, richest bird area. Like in the previous class, I told you that 180 species of birds are there, right? No, 366 species of birds are there. Okay, one of the richest bird areas. That is a man-made wetland. Okay, now water can be static or flowing. That means lake or river. Or water can be fresh, brackish or salt. You know the meaning of brackish? Semi-saline. Okay, so the definition includes all lakes, rivers, groundwater bodies, swamps, marshes, wet grasslands, peatlands, oases which are present in deserts, estuaries, you know the meaning, deltas, you know the meaning, mangroves, and all the human-made sites such as fish ponds and reservoirs. Okay, like for example the Nagarjuna Sagar and all that. Okay, so all these are wetlands, a very broad definition of wetlands for the purpose of conservation. Okay, now let me explain this last part. So you have something called tidally influenced water bodies. Okay, very simple. Tidally influenced water bodies. Very simple. Under this you have estuaries, coastal lagoons, also called backwaters. Okay, and you have tidal creeks. All these are tidally influenced water bodies. I told you tidal creek, do you remember? That small cut. Okay, this is tidal creek. Okay, because whenever there is high tide, this entire area will be flooded with tide water. This is where you feel the power of tides. There is a proposal to use tidal energy as a renewable source of energy. Where do they use this? They will use it here. Because this is where you find the increase and decrease in water level dramatically. Whenever there is a low tide, water is so deep. Whenever there is a high tide, this entire area is flooded with tide water. Because small area, closed area. Okay, tidal creek, estuary, backwaters or coastal lagoons. You know the meanings of all this? All these are tidally influenced water bodies. Okay, now these tidally influenced water bodies will be considered as wetlands if the depth of them at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. As simple as that. At low tide, their water level will be low. Okay, so at low tide, if their depth is 6 meters or below, beyond that, less than 6 meters, then these will also be considered as wetlands. As simple as that. If it is too troubling, ignore that, no problem. This is the official definition of Ramsar according to the website. Okay? Not website of any institute, website of Ramsar Convention. Okay? Did you get this, guys? Basically, all these are tidally influenced water bodies. What do you mean by that? They are heavily influenced by tides. Forget about these. Do you know that even rivers are influenced by tides? Do you know Hooghly River in West Bengal? Okay, I've been there. Beautiful place. Whenever there is a high tide, tidal bore will come. You know the meaning of tidal bore? Just imagine a huge wave of seawater. Okay. For example, if river is flowing in this direction, this wave of seawater will flow upstream the river against the direction of river. Okay, it will go like that for at least 4 to 5 kilometers. Tidal bores are so powerful. These are salt water, water coming from the oceans. High tide is there. Okay, so water will rush into the river. That is called tidal bores. Such a huge river itself is getting affected. What about these? They are highly influenced by tides. Whenever there is a high tide, all these bodies are washed away with tidal water. Whenever there is a low tide, these bodies will look very shallow, empty, with very less water. So these water bodies, during low tide, because during high tide anyway the water will be like very deep. During low tide, if their depth does not exceed 6 meters, then even those are considered to be wetlands. Nobody understood? Understood, right? Why low tide? Because anyway during high tide, their depth will be very significant. They will be filled with water. Okay? So this is the official Ramsar definition of wetlands. Okay? So you don't have to write all this. I will condense. Okay? So please write down. The Ramsar Convention uses a broad definition of wetlands The Ramsar Convention uses a broad definition of wetlands for the purpose of conservation. For the purpose of conservation. Full stop. It includes water bodies, both natural and man-made. It includes water bodies, both natural and man-made, as well as aquifers. Under the definition of wetlands. Under the definition of wetlands. Clear? So with this we are done with today's class. If you have any doubts you can ask me. I'll let you go in 1 to 2 minutes. Okay? So any doubts anybody has? So are you liking the environment classes? Are they good? Any changes required? Anything? No, nothing? Is everything fine with everybody? Okay, are these PPTs helping you? Or do you feel that I'm reading from this? No, right? I'm explaining and then I'm showing. Okay, reinforcement. Okay, everything is fine then? Okay, let's meet tomorrow.